night I was out there, just kids singing Christmas carols as they're on hay rides around the lights, and I was like, man, this is it. This is the most wonderful time of the year, right? Yeah, kinda, sorta. It's the most wonderful time of the year, except like for all the traffic. It's the most wonderful time of the year, except for all of the lines at all of the places. It's the most wonderful time of the year, except for the expenses. It's the most wonderful time of the year, except that unexpected thing that happened. It's the most wonderful time of the year, except for those feelings that seem to come up in our hearts and our minds, and we didn't see them coming at all. It's the most wonderful time of the year, except for the pace of things and how busy it is. It's the most wonderful time of the year, except for all of the comparison that we end up doing. The other night we were working at the campground, and I wanted to see what it looked like when it turned dark. So, we've been putting up all these lights for all these days, and so it finally got dark, and we got to see what it looked like, and it's beautiful. And I get in my car, and I'm driving home, and traffic's bad, and so I'm a little annoyed that traffic is bad. And then I turn onto my street, and I begin to notice something, that like all of my neighbors have Christmas lights out. And then I pull up to my house, and it is dark, right? And I'm the Christmas light guy, We decorate a whole campground. I haven't decorated my house, not even a bit. And like this frustration / shame / I don't know what it was begins to well up inside of me. And I'm sitting in my driveway like, what is going on? Like, where is this coming from? Like, why do I feel like I need to keep pace with this person? Why do I feel like I got to keep up with that person? Why do I feel like I'm not enough because I haven't done enough, or that all of these things haven't gotten done in the right amount of time? Like, where did that come from? This unexpected feeling that I had. It's wild that sometimes those feelings just come out of nowhere. Comparing somebody's Christmas lights to what I have or haven't done. Recently I had a conversation with somebody, and same sort of thing. They were telling me about how, they were already done with Christmas shopping. Like, yeah, that must be nice. But I didn't mean that in a nice way, right? Like, that must be nice, but really don't tell me about that anymore. And same sort of thing. Like, you just feel all these emotions and feelings like I'm not enough, I'm not doing enough, I don't have it together. Because, Sarah did such a great job last week, and she was talking about her dad getting the kids together and going shopping on the 23rd of December. I felt targeted, okay? I felt a little bit called out because I'm that guy. Like, we're gonna get the kids together on December 23rd. It is a Hildebrandt family tradition, and we're gonna go get Michelle something that she may or may not want, but she's getting it anyway. But this, I'm done in November, like done Christmas shopping, all done. Like I'm, all these feelings come up. I think there's something about this season. There's something about the pace of this season and the fact that we try to keep pace with everybody else that really brings about all these emotions, especially when something unexpected happens. And all of a sudden, the pace of Christmas disrupts the peace that we're supposed to experience at Christmas. Oftentimes, trying to keep pace with everybody else really disrupts the peace that we're supposed to feel at Christmas. The sense that God is present with us, that everything's going to be okay no matter what's going on. This overwhelming sense of peace, not just the absence of conflict, but knowing that everything is going to be okay. this pace that we try to keep, and the way that we try to get everything done, and the way that we move, and the way that we go here, there, and everywhere. We got to be at all the different places, and then all of a sudden something, it can be a small thing, something happens, and all of a sudden our world is thrown into chaos. And what's interesting to me about that is that when I talk to people about their Christmas experiences so often, they will frequently tell me about a Christmas that went awry. Right? Like there's a whole production about this. There's a whole play about this idea. It's not that one. There's this whole play about the idea that Christmas can go a little sideways, and that sometimes when Christmas goes a little sideways, those are the moments that we learn the most about ourselves and the people who are around us, and that we learn about Christmas all the more from those experiences. It's the time that we got snowed in at this place. I mean, not in Georgia, like somewhere else, right? This is a northerner who moved here, and they're telling me this story. And so they'll tell about a time they got snowed in, or their flight got canceled, or their plans got changed, or they were baking this ham and it got burned, and all of a sudden, they're eating chips and dip, and that becomes their new Christmas tradition every year. Now we got to eat chips and dip every year from then on. And all of these unexpected things that happened, all these uncertain things that happen in the midst of the pace of Christmas, all of a sudden become a part of our Christmas story, and we find out more about what Christmas really means. Christmas is unique because Christmas sometimes acts as this like emotional time machine for us. It links our present to our past. And it makes us hyper aware that unexpected things often happen at Christmas. And how we respond to what we don't expect makes a huge difference in how we tell the story of our Christmas. Now, fortunately for us, the gospel writers, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, tell similar stories that unexpected things happen in uncertain moments as we're trying to keep pace with everybody else. And so as we explore these 4 Christmases, what we find out is that the gospel writers are experiencing similar things. The people in the first Christmas story are experiencing similar things to what we experience day in and day out. And the way that they respond really matters. What they know about the world really matters. In Matthew, we hear this more familiar story of Christmas. It starts in this way. In chapter 1, verse 18, it says this: "Now the birth of Jesus the Messiah took place in this way. When his mother Mary had been engaged to Joseph, but before they had lived together, she was to be with child. She was found to be with child from the Holy Spirit." Let me just kind of pause for a second and kind of set a little context. Matthew, before this verse, the other 17 verses leading up to verse 18, is all a genealogy of Joseph's family. So Matthew wants us to know that Joseph comes from this long line of amazing people. Not all of them with the best stories. Some of them very unexpected when you read the list. You read the list and you go, who is that? Or, oh, I can't believe that person's in this list. And then there's some incredible names like King David. All to set up this idea that Joseph is this upstanding citizen from a great family living in Nazareth, in this kind of sideways town, like out of the limelight. It's not a big town. It's not a great town. It's not incredible. It's just kind of this little town, this little backwater town. But Joseph himself is an upstanding guy. He's got a great job. He's a craftsman. He's a woodworker. And he's betrothed. He's engaged to Mary. Now, I just want to just pause here for a quick second, because sometimes we tend to hallmarkify the Christmas story. You know what I mean when I say hallmarkify? Like this. That's what we're looking for. Like we kind of think like Joseph shows up in flannel. He's been woodworking all day long, building things. Mary just happens to be coming into town from out of town, from the big city, somewhere where she runs a law firm or something. And she's home because her family, made her come home for Christmas, and she doesn't want to be there. She wants to be back at the law firm, and all of a sudden, is this the correct story? All of a sudden she comes home and bumps into Joseph, and they went to school together. This isn't the way that the Bible tells this story. I mean, this was an arranged marriage, right? This was all part of a plan. Joseph's life was planned. He had come from a great family. He was good at his job. He was going to marry Mary. They were going to have kids. He was going to teach the kids the trade, the family trade. That was life. That was the plan. Nowhere in the plan was pregnant from the Holy Spirit. Right? That wasn't part of the plan at all. Joseph's life was planned out. Everything was all set up, and it was all good until this unexpected thing happens and throws uncertainty into the whole experience. We're not totally sure how Joseph finds out. We assume that, the angel told Mary and Mary told Joseph because it's the right thing to do. Or, she assumed if God told me this, then maybe God will tell Joseph this, and that's not necessarily the way that the events unfolded, but we find out that something does happen in just a minute. But before that, in verse 19, it says this: her husband Joseph, being a righteous man and unwilling to expose her to public disgrace, planned to dismiss her quietly. All of a sudden, all of Joseph's plans are up in the air. All the things that he had thought about, all the things that he had put in place, all the things that he had been doing to move his life forward, that perfect Christmas, that perfect plan, that perfect season, all of the stuff put out, all of it wrapped really nice and neatly. All of it all put together. And Joseph finds out about this. Finds himself in a place where he is out of control. Which is really the thing that pace brings. It's really the thing that uncertainty brings. It's really the thing that those unforeseen circumstances bring. They make us feel out of control, which is why those feelings come up in all of us. When we don't feel like we're in control, and we try to get back some sense of control and some sense of certainty. And I think that's exactly what Joseph is doing right here. Maybe Joseph is, like Matthew says, maybe he's uprighteous or he's upstanding and righteous. I keep comboing words today. He's righteous and good. And he's doing this on Mary's behalf, but I also think Joseph is doing what so many of us do when we feel out of control. He's pushing away from the situation. He's going to dismiss quietly those feelings. He's not going to acknowledge them. He's not going to deal with them. He's not going to look at them. He's not going to have to deal with this hard thing. He's not going to have that conversation. He's not going to engage in that family gathering. He's just going to quietly push away from that thing to get back a sense of control. Just push it away quietly. That issue that's been brewing in your marriage, that conversation that you need to have with your kid, the behavior that hasn't been addressed, the unforgiveness that's been growing in your heart, the anger over what happened to us. And we decide to dismiss it quietly because it feels like control. And we love control. We love to feel like we're in control. And we do all sorts of things. There's all sorts of behaviors that we kind of have that we talk about, like detaching behaviors, but these are just masking control. We'll doom scroll because the more information we have, the better we are. Information feels like control in the age of information. And so we'll research topics to the endmost, and Google keeps giving us different answers to different things, and we just keep looking, and we keep reading. Information feels like control. Or maybe we just take control of our life by sitting on the couch and watching all 147 Hallmark Christmas movies in a row. Or maybe it's food, or maybe it's drinks, or maybe it's all those things that we do to step back and feel like we have control over something when we feel like we don't have control over the thing that we want to have control over. And again, I appreciate Matthew's telling of the story, and I think it's probably the reality of the thing, but that Joseph was worried about Mary, but I think Joseph was also worried about Joseph. Joseph has all the power in this situation. But Joseph is also thinking about himself and his future. And how can I control the outcomes of this situation? Now, I could drag Mary out into the street and I could have her stoned and I could have her stoned to death, but I don't know that that does really good things for my future marriage prospects. Or maybe he's thinking about the fact that like this uncertain experience, this unexpected thing has happened. And if it gets found out that this happened, can you imagine the talk at the water cooler down at the Mason's shop? Can you imagine what the boys will say? And Joseph is doing everything that he can to control the narrative, to control the situation, to control what's going on, just like all of us do. All of us do this in some way, shape, or form. And here's why I think that this is a control thing. Because he resolved to do this. The Greek word for resolve there means like he stewed over this. When he had stewed over this, an angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream and said, Joseph, son of David, do not be, what? Afraid. Oh, wait, who said I was afraid? I'm not afraid. Who's afraid? You're afraid. She's afraid. I'm not afraid. Right, the thing that we fear the most is feeling like we're not in control. It's why we check the Amazon package tracker 36 times a day to make sure that that package is going to get to our house in time. It's why those of us who have Life 360 are a little neurotic about checking Life 360 to see where our kids are, to see how fast they're going. Because we love that sense of control. Because it somehow reduces the fear that we feel. The fear that we feel about uncertainty around us. The fear that we feel about uncertain situations. Joseph, don't be afraid. Joseph, don't be afraid to step into the uncertainty of this situation. Don't be afraid to step into the mess of this situation. Don't be afraid to take Mary as your wife. Don't be afraid to have your plans messed up. Honestly, if you want to see me lose my temper, just mess up my plans. Because I fear being out of control. I fear the idea that all of the things that I put in place, all of the things that I thought about, all the things that I made all of these plans, and we're going to do them. We're going to do them. All of a sudden something happens and it throws a wrench in the plans, and out of my fear response, out of my control response, I get frustrated. I try to get them back into control. Notice that the angel doesn't say. The angel doesn't say, hey Joseph, just be brave. Just be brave. He doesn't say, don't be afraid. Just be brave. Take Mary as your wife. He doesn't say, Joseph, just man up. It's going to be fine. Now, the angel begins to describe something deeper, something more profound. Joseph, son of David, do not be afraid to take Mary as your wife, for the child conceived in her is from the Holy Spirit, and she will bear a son, and you are to name him Jesus, for he will save his people from their sins. All of this took place to fulfill what had been spoken by the Lord through the prophet. Look, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and they shall name him Emmanuel, which means God is with us. The angel describes a who. A person. A presence. Emmanuel, God with us. And so I don't think the opposite of fear is bravery. I think the opposite of fear is a sense of peace from knowing who's with us. From knowing that God is with us. Because clearly Joseph wakes up with a peace about it. I mean, it says this, that when Joseph awoke from his sleep, he did as the angel of the Lord had commanded him. You know, you ever had that situation where somebody just says, I have a peace about it, and they're ready to move forward? Joseph has a peace about it because he knows who's with him. He's reminded of who's with him, that God with us changes everything. That we can deal with any uncertainty in the world as long as we have clarity about who is with us. As long as we know that God is with us. As long as we remember that God showed up in the most unexpected way, in the most unexpected circumstances, and God shows up in our unexpected circumstances. God shows up with the promise of peace, that God is with us, that His very presence, in the good times and the bad times, in the good moments and the terrible moments, in the ER, in the attorney's office, during finals and changing diapers, and in prison, and on the first date, and during that ugly cry that we all need to have every once in a while. God is with us in the carpool line, and working the graveyard shift, and working the 12 steps, and at the office, and at the gym, and in the therapy, and doing dishes, and in traffic, and at the table, and during chemo, and in recovery, and at the funeral. And when we're missing someone, and when everything that we hoped for we get, and when nothing that we ever anticipated is what we get. When we're not sure what to do, when we're not sure what we believe, when we can't sing that song, or when we sing it at the top of our lungs, when we're frustrated or overwhelmed or feel betrayed, God is with us. When we feel like things are falling apart, today, tomorrow, December 25th, and every day after, God is with us. And we should find peace in that. Because peace is not the absence of struggle or conflict. It's not the absence of uncertainty. It is the promise of the presence of God with us. It's the certainty that no matter what, God is with us. And we can live with any uncertainty as long as we have clarity about who is with us. So we can choose connection over control. And we can be people who know that God is with us so that we're able to be with others. So today, let's choose peace over pace. And let's choose connection over control. And let's choose clarity over certainty. And know that God is with us. And to live in a world as if we believed that. So what would you do if you knew that God was with you? What would you do that God was with you? Would you move towards reconciliation? Would you have that hard conversation? Would you serve someone that you may not know or like or trust? Would you be brave in uncertain circumstances and move towards relationship? Because that's what God does.